Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH News product review. Now, there aren't too many mid-sized portable power stations on the market today that can be paired up in parallel operation to provide not only double the battery capacity, but double the inverter power. Thankfully, there's a new kid on the block with a lithium iron phosphate battery that does just that. Meet the Vigorpool Captain 1200 with an inverter that can be ran in parallel to support up to 20 amps or 2400 watts of appliances. But is it any good? Let's find out. The El Capitan sports a 1280 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery, good for 3500 cycles to 80% capacity, but can be doubled up to 2560 watt hours when in parallel operation with a second unit. As for size and weight, this unit is 16 by 9 by 11 inches at a relatively portly 33.4 pounds. But hey, no one wants lightweight NMC batteries anymore, so you pay the price with a larger size and heftier weight in trade for higher life cycles of lithium iron phosphate. As for build quality, the Vigorpool is all ABS plastic all the way around with a pair of large built-in grab handles front and back, allows you to easily pick it up and move it around. Also sports a large color LCD screen, chock pack full of information such as battery charge percentage with icon, input output watts, time to charge discharge, and includes icons for various warnings. The Vigorpool offers a pure sine 1200 watt inverter with four, count them four, 20 amp outlets in the back. As mentioned earlier, two Captain 1200s can be paralleled together to output up to 2400 watts combined. As for ways to charge, there are the standard three. First, from AC wall power or electric generator, it can charge in just under 2 hours from its built-in 800 watt charger. All you need is a cable, there's no external power brick, which makes it very convenient. Of course, you can also charge from solar with the included MC4 to Anderson connector. It can charge in about 4 hours from its 400 watt MPPT controller, and that supports from 12 to 56 volts of solar panels. And finally, it can charge in about 14 hours from 12 volts using the included cigarette lighter to Anderson adapter. Cut that time in half for 24 volt sources. As for 12 volt outputs, the Captain offers three 12 volt outputs, all share a 10 amp circuit good for about 130 watts. Of course, you have the standard 12 volt 10 amp cigarette lighter socket and a pair of 5521 barrel plug outputs rated at 3 amps each. As for USB outputs, there are four. There's a pair of 100 watt USB-C power delivery outputs and a pair of USB-A quick charge ports that support up to 18 watts each. Do note, these are all outputs. None of them are bi-directional, so you cannot charge the Vigorpool with USB. At least you won't find any of those dinosaur-era USB ports here. Yay! And for those with wireless charging phones, there is a wireless charging pad built into the top, good for 10 watts of charging. As for other features, the Vigorpool does offer a basic UPS feature with a very fast 10 millisecond switchover time. And they also have an app that works over Wi-Fi. Now, as for the warranty, if you purchase before the end of August 2022, Vigorpool is going to include a 3-year manufacturer warranty. And of course, we took the Captain 1200 into my secret laboratory where we performed all kinds of crazy experiments on it, including, yes, a double-fisted bang, bang, battery capacity test. As you can see from the results of the DC capacity test, it scored 1159 watt hours out of 1280 for a very impressive 91%. And as for the AC battery capacity test, it scored 1120 watt hours out of 1280 for an above average 88%. Both are very respectable numbers for a new brand. Pure sine wave check under load. Sine wave looks good, 109 volts, 60 hertz. Inverter capacity test. This is where we find out how much power can we pull out of the inverter. Now the Captain 1200 has a 1200 watt inverter. So we're starting at 1200 watts and we're going to take it from there. That means none other than the solar degenerator. This is the number we're watching right here. Let's see how far past 1200 watts we can push it. 1350, 1400, 1450, 1500, 1550. Oh, 1600, it actually turned down the solar degenerator. So that was very interesting. At 1550 watts, I was able to keep cranking the power on the solar degenerator and it would just stay at 1200 watts. So this has some kind of overload protection in it that prevents it from overloading. I'm gonna do it again, but with the oscilloscope, and we're gonna see if the voltage changes. Okay, we're at 1200, 13, 14, 15. And at 16, it does something. It knocks the voltage down to 97 volts. I am now using the full 1800 watt power of the solar degenerator. It's dropped the voltage to 91 volts and it's maxing out around 1250 watts. So that's a very interesting solution to an overloading inverter issue. Once it gets to 1500 watts, it kicks over and drops the voltage to allow you to continue to run your appliance. Now, I am in the app and there are no settings in the app. There's nothing in the app that mentions any kind of setting that allows you to over wattage the inverter. There's nothing in here under more features. So there's no way to turn this feature off, and I'm not sure if I like that or not, but the fact is it was able to run up to 1500 watts before it kicked that over. So it's a safety thing, but just keep that in mind. It will drop the voltage if you overload this inverter too far. Now let's really push this thing to its limit by hooking up the parallel cable. So this parallel cable allows me to hook two Captain 1200s together to have a 2400 watt inverter. And the way this works is they say you can use either one of these inverters that you want because they're both physically tied together now. So you kind of double your outlets. So now we should be able to pull 2400 watts. Let's see. Now we have the two inverters combined together or paralleled. One is pulling 900 watts and the other one up here is pulling 800 watts for 1700 watts total. So that'll be our starting point. Now all that noise you hear in the background is my air conditioner running because it is getting hot in here. Okay, we're doing 1300 watts there, 1500 watts there. It's 2800 watts. How much harder can we push it? So it's 16 there and 14 there. So we're at 3000 watts. It's still going. There we go. It just tripped at 3000 watts. So that pretty much makes sense. If each one of these can do about 1500 watts before they trip, when you combine them together, they should do about 3000 watts. And that seems to be the case. Okay, I got this running at pretty much steady 2500 watts. Let's go ahead and start the timer. Let's see if it can go 5 minutes running a 2500 watt load, which is slightly more than its rated 2400 watts. Okay, there we have it, 5 minutes at just under 2500 watts total. So that's pretty impressive. You're paralleling both of these inverters together. You're able to pull 2500 watts pretty much indefinitely. That's pretty good for a small little machine like this. Okay, I know I'm gonna get a bunch of questions about this parallel feature. Now, all this does is parallel the inverters together. It doesn't connect any other circuitry together between the two. Because I know the first thing I'm gonna be asked is, oh, if these are connected physically together like this, what happens if you charge one? Will they both charge at the same time? Well, this one's charging at 800 watts. This one's not charging at all. So that answers that question. No, they won't simultaneous charge from one cord because the inverters are physically hooked together. It only hooks the inverters together to double the power. Now the Captain 1200 does have an Anderson solar input on it. So I have that plugged into my handy dandy charger, which simulates solar or 12 volts. In this case, I'm doing 12 volts. It's pulling in 136 watts in the bottom unit. Is it doing anything to the top unit? That's a big fat zero. So once again, proving that only the inverters are tied together. If you put solar in the one or AC power in the one, it's not shared between the two. This does mean you can put two separate solar arrays in this case, or two separate AC inputs. So each solar input on the Captain 1200 can take 400 watts of solar. So you can pump 400 watts into each one of these on two separate strings, which might actually be better than one 800 watt setup because it allows you to mix and match panels. Say you have two 200 watt panels, you can put that on one, and you can put two 100 watt panels on the other. Say that's all you have. Assuming you have two units, you want to charge them both at the same time. And that brings us to the max charge rate test, where we find out how much can we pump into the Captain 1200. Now we know the AC input is limited to 800 watts internally, so there's no way to exceed that. But the solar input on this is an Anderson connection that can support from 12 to 56 volts up to 400 watts. Let's see if we can push it any further than that. Now there is a hard cap of 12 amps on the input, which doesn't seem to be the case because we're pushing 13.4 amps through, so there's a little bit of wiggle room. So here's the input in watts, and here's the voltage. So let's go ahead and turn up the voltage and see what happens to the watts. So let's take it up to solar panel input, typical about 20 volts, and we're getting 220 watts. Say that to a higher end solar panel, and now we're at 250 watts. We're doing 50 volts at just under 10 amps. It is hard capped at 400 watts. So there is no way to squeeze out more power than that. Let's see what happens if we exceed 56 volts. Wow, right at 56 volts, it cuts you off. So there is no leeway. There you have it. The range is 12 to 56 volts, exactly as stated in the manual. It does allow a little bit more amps than it's supposed to, but it doesn't let you go past 400 watts no matter what. So there's a hard limit of 400 watts on each one of these. Now, what about simultaneous charging? Can you charge with AC power and solar at the same time? Let's find out. Currently, I have it set to 48 volts, 10 amps. I'm maxing out the solar input at 400 watts. Let's see what happens when I plug it into the wall. And there you have it, 1200 watts. It does simultaneous charge, 800 watts from AC, 400 watts from solar. Now, what about fan noise while it's charging from solar? So I have it charging at 400 watts from my fake solar. The fans are running, they're really quiet. Let's see how quiet. 46 decibels, that's pretty darn quiet. Now, what about the fan noise when it's charging from wall power at maximum? Now, inside the app, there's fast charge and slow charge. Fast charge is 800 watts. Slow charge is 200 watts, and at 200 watts, the fans basically don't come on. At 800 watts, I've been running it like this for several minutes, seeing if it gets any louder. It just doesn't seem to get any louder than this. So 44 decibels, so it's even quieter charging from AC than it is from solar. That's a little bit weird, but hey, that's the results we got. Now, what about inverter noise? I've had the inverter running at its maximum 1250 watts for several minutes, so the fans should be running at maximum speed. It's still pretty quiet. 48 decibels, that's pretty good. So the Vigorpool does have a UPS relay built in, which is uninterruptible power supply. What that means is you can plug this into AC wall power, and then in this case, I have a heater plugged into the inverter. So right now, power is passing from the wall through the Vigorpool, not touching the battery, coming out of the heater. So what we can do is turn the power on or off from the wall, and I want to show you guys how fast does this switch over from wall power to battery power. Now they're saying 10 milliseconds, which is usually good enough for most computers. Okay, right now, wall power is on. You can see we're charging here at 800 watts from the wall, and the fan on the heater is using 14 watts. Watch this light. As I turn off the power from the wall, let's see how fast this light blinks. 3, 2, 1. I didn't even see it blink. So we'll try that again, try it a second time. And turn the power back on from the wall. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it blinks so fast you can barely see it. When they say 10 milliseconds, I truly believe it's 10 milliseconds. 3, 2, 1. It's very fast. So it looks like the Vigorpool has a pretty good UPS relay in it. It's really quick. Now, no doubt this would have no problems running most modern computers. So you could probably have a normal PC computer plugged into this. If the power goes out, it'll automatically run off the battery. That's what UPS mode means. It's actually better than pass-through charging. Pass-through charging uses the battery. So power comes in from the wall, charges the battery, and then the battery passes that power through to the outlets. In UPS mode, power comes in from the wall, skips the battery, comes through the inverter outlets. So UPS mode is superior than pass-through charging. A lot of these systems now have UPS mode in there. They realize it's a lot better for the product. It means less warranty returns because people aren't burning up their batteries within 2 or 3 years. Because if you run pass-through charging for a very long time, it will ruin the battery after a couple of years, but not with a UPS relay. So that makes this product superior to products that would have pass-through charging. El Capitan's 12-volt output is regulated at 13 volts. Let's see how many amps we can pull. So we have no problem pulling 10 amps or 130 watts from the 12-volt port. Now, all three of these 12-volt outputs are shared, so it's 10 amps between all three. Now, the Vigorpool has two 100-watt power delivery ports. Now, these are output-only ports. Can they both support 100 watts at the same time? Well, I have two power band units here. I have this one and this one. Each one of these can take 100 watts in. I have them both hooked up with 5 amp 100 watt cables. You can see right here, 194 watts output. This proves right here that these dual 100 watt power delivery ports both output 100 watts at the same time. And that's important because that means you can actually power two high-end laptops at the same time from these power delivery ports. Good example is MacBook Pros. They like 100 watt power delivery. You can run two at the same time off of each one of your Captain 1200s. Now, how about wireless charging? I have the wireless charging pad on my cell phone and the wireless charging pad on top. So as soon as I set this down, if we hear a ding, we know it's working, and we'll see how many watts it pulls. There we go, ding, 4 watts. Last but not least, the musician's favorite amp interference test, where we find out, do we get interference from the inverter through the speaker? Let's find out. Sounds crispy clean to me. So this does pass the amp interference test. So if you need to use an amplifier for music, ham radio, this should be clean power for you. So I'm sure you want to see what the app looks like. I have both Captain 1200s set up here on the app. This is the screen you get, input output watts, temperature of the unit, battery percentage, currently 45, how much time it'll take to charge or discharge. You can turn on or off AC inverter, on or off USB, turn on or off wireless charging, and 12-volt car. You can also turn on and off the flashlight, and under more features, you can set the timeout on the device. So if you want it to time out after 3, 6, 12 hours, you can set it there or never, which means it'll stay on forever. Screen timeout, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 minutes, or never. Battery protect. Now this is how much you want the battery to charge up before the charger stops. I have it set to 80%, so it'll top up this battery to 80% and then stop charging. This is where you set slow or fast charging. Slow charge on is 200 watts, slow charge off is 800. Brightness changes the brightness of the screen. You can remove the device or update your firmware. That is all there is to it. Now, of course, there's one major feature left of the Captain 1200, which we didn't cover yet, and that is, of course, these kick-ass lights on the side. Now, you can control them with buttons on either side. Actually, they're independently controlled, so you can actually turn off one, turn on the other, get on the flash and blink and do all the stuff depending on which button you press. And the app lets you independently control the light on each side. Okay, so since we have two Captain 1200s, that means, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There are 4 lights!
And do you think this has the silly SOS feature? Now, we just had our live stream event, Sogen's in the Sky, where we pointed our solar generators up into the clouds. Didn't get any aliens to land, but we certainly tried. Does this have the SOS feature? Let's find out. Press number 1, low. We'll do it on this side too. Press number 1, low. Press number 2, high. Press number 3, seizure mode. Press number 4. If this doesn't attract our little buddies upstairs, nothing will. Woohoo! Oh yeah, we're gonna flag down our little buddies upstairs with all these SOS flashes. Holy cow, look at them all. They're coming out of the woodwork. This stuff's really starting to work. So what don't I like about the Vigorpool? Well, I really had to stretch to find stuff I didn't like about this product. The solar charging is a little weak sauce. Sure, 400 watts is fine, and you can technically pump in 800 of solar if you have a pair, but the voltage range is a little bit skimp at only 56 volts maximum. This pretty much limits you to running only 2 200 watt panels in series with very little room for over paneling if you live in an area that has poor weather. Now certainly my biggest gripe about the Vigorpool is this built-in boost mode that drops the voltage on the inverter when you exceed the 1200 watt rated output. And this is something that can't be disabled. It even states in the manual that if you try to run certain appliances over 1200 watts in this mode, they could actually be damaged. Literally every other brand with this feature has a way to disable it. Not the Vigorpool. Maybe that's something they can implement down the line in a future firmware update, but until then, I advise not running appliances over 1200 watts on this unit that contain a microchip, compressor, or an electric motor unless you plan on paralleling 2 together for a larger inverter output. It seems when you connect these in parallel, at least during my testing, that boost feature is turned off. So that's actually going to be safe for your appliances. So what do I like about the Captain 1200? The Vigorpool is overall a very solid product at an unbeatable introductory price. My favorite feature that sets this apart from all the rest is of course the parallel ability. It's a very simple plug-and-play design. Now in the past, I almost always have problems getting parallel systems on these solar generators to work properly. Not this one, I just plugged it in and it worked. I didn't need a firmware update, I didn't need to turn them on in any specific order, it just worked. Now I have to say it, this dual lantern style light is the most badass light I think has ever been put on a solar generator to date. It's such a great idea because it can light up an entire room or campsite, unlike the normally useless 1 watt spotlight that you get in most solar generators. Now if our little buddies upstairs can't see this light, no one will. Also, if you end up ordering a pair of these to put in parallel operation, you can literally go around asking your friends if they see 4 lights. And if they look at you strangely like they have no idea what you're talking about, you need new friends. Product price and availability. The Vigorpool Captain 1200 is currently available for pre-order. Originally they were going to launch this product on Indiegogo, but they decided, probably wisely, to offer pre-orders instead and cut out the middleman in order to offer you a better introductory price. And boy, oh boy, what a price it is. The first 10 pre-orders will be at the amazing price of only $6.99. That's 55 cents per watt hour. And then after those first 10, the price is going to increase to $9.99. Now I'm pretty sure that 55 cents per watt hour is either the lowest price in the industry for a lithium iron phosphate solar generator at this time, or very close to the best price. I mean, come on. The fancy double UFO light is worth the price of entry by itself. Even at the $9.99 price, that's still only 78 cents a watt hour, which still beats just about everything being sold by the big 3. But wait, there's more. The first 20 to pre-order this using my link below is going to get a free 200 watt solar panel from Vigorpool. That's a free $300 solar panel just for having the fastest trigger finger on the internet. And if you end up being in that first 20, Vigorpool will contact you via email and let you know. Oh, and we're still not done yet. All orders through HOBOTECH get a free carrying bag included with their purchase. All orders until the end of August get a 3-year manufacturer's warranty. After September 1st, it's going to drop to 2 years. Now, Vigorpool didn't say anything to me about limiting the free solar panel carrying bag or $6.99 price to only 1 unit per order. This means if you order 2 of them, if you want to put them in parallel operation, you essentially get a 2,560 watt-hour power station with a 2,400 watt inverter and a pair of 200 watt solar panels and a pair of carrying bags for only $1,400. Now you compare that to the best bang for the buck Bluetti that's on the market today. That's the 2,000 watt-hour Bluetti AC 200P. It's about the same price, but without the solar panels, and then you realize you're practically robbing Vigorpool. As for recommended solar, if you don't have solar panels already, I suggest just get the ones from Vigorpool. They do sell 200 watt solar panels on their website, and each one of these will support 2 solar panels each. Otherwise, if you want something cheaper and more durable, just go to hobotech.tv/Amazon. Click on solar kits. That'll take you down to a plethora of a lot of 200 watt solar panels, glass ones, briefcase kits, flex panels. You can pretty much use anything you want as long as it stays within the voltage range of this product. So if you're interested in the Vigorpool, there is a link below in the description of this video. I'm also putting a link here at the bottom of the screen along with a QR code that you can scan on any mobile device. It'll take you right on over to the Vigorpool store page. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me that thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe. And clean my litter box.
And in case you're not in the know, Amazon Prime Day, which is a 2-day sale, is coming up in a couple of days. I'm going to have several more videos out giving you guys the heads up on some of those killer deals.
RV Golf Guy, Andrew Von Rupp, Brian Lewis, John Jason Sirocco, Dr. Steve Eisenberg.